Thank you so much. Welcome to this wonderful event. We're delighted to have had the opportunity to get all this information out to folks all over New England, and we had an unbelievable response. My name is Bill Preble. I'm a professor of education at New England College and president of Main Street Academics, a small educational consulting firm in Canada. We have folks from 9 states represented here, all the New England states. We have folks from as far away as Tennessee. We have districts that have sent as many as 42 people to our conference who are really super committed to this issue. But thank you very much for coming. We really have tried to put together an event that will rival last year's event here at Mills Falls. I don't know if you folks know Kevin Jennings, but he's from around here. Spent a lot of time in the Boston area, Massachusetts area. Kevin's areas of interest, extend across all people, and he is a champion for people being treated with fairness and respect. It's with a great deal of pleasure that I welcome Kevin to New Hampshire. Thank you so much for making time.
The central message I'm bringing to you today from the U.S. Department of Education can be summarized in 2 very simple words, which are thank you. Everyone who works in education is a hero. But to me, a safe school is not just one in which nothing bad is happening to you. It should be something good is happening as well. And what does that look like? It's a school where every kid feels like they belong, every kid feels valued, every kid feels like they matter. Because that is the foundation of educational achievement.
That's the kind of leader Kevin is, I think. He wants to make sure that, consistent with his speech here, that you all know that it's really your work, and it's the work of other people, not the Department of Education. It's your work that's the important work. And I think that's how you build leadership, and that's how you build engagement. That's the respect continuum. Try to think of it as a rubric that as you choose strategies, don't just try to crush the disrespect, but try to see how you can build on those elements. He said that he's used this little frame to try to talk not about bullying and not about harassment at the beginning of a school year or something, but to talk about respect and to talk about what does it look like, what are the specific behaviors that we found from this research, and that we want to share those with you, and I think I really encourage you all to work on, is the issue of empowering students. When Kevin was ready to come up here, I said, Kevin, he said, you got anything else, Bill, before I leave? And I said, yeah, one thing. Is there any way that the department could try to put out the word nationally? The best way to work on school climate is to invite students to the table to do the work with us. That's what listen. We have this illustrious panel of experts up here, and we've all done some work, but I think the spirit is that you folks are the ones that are going to make this either work and happen for individual kids in your school, or it's not going to happen. And we can tell you everything we know and everything we've done, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is what you take away from here and what you commit to go do.
Hi, my name is Stan Davis, and I'm just at the end of 20 years working with schools as a family and child therapist, and then 20 years of working in schools after that as a school guidance counselor. So my interest all along in those times has been how to get schools to function as safe, welcoming places for staff and for students, places where people can teach, places where people can learn. So the 2 workshops are going to be focused on what I would like to think of as engineering. Engineering is applying science to practical applications. And there's a great deal of social science about what works in changing behavior, in building safety, in building positive bystander behavior. And I'm going to be talking about practical applications of that. The 3rd workshop, Bill asked me to do a workshop about the use of the right brain in bullying prevention, because so much of what we do is about the left brain, what is bullying, what it isn't, what are we supposed to do. And yet, creativity and intuition are a very important piece of that too. So that 3rd workshop tomorrow is going to be focused on that.
My name is Richard Cole. Excuse me. I'm from Massachusetts. I am a civil rights attorney by trade. I've worked in communities, but I also worked at the Massachusetts Office of Attorney General and was the chief of the Civil Rights Division there. One of the first things when I was there for 16 years, was we received calls from schools after a major crisis, a major incident, and schools would ask for our intervention, we brought in teams to address major school conflicts, major issues, and we decided that instead of being reactive, we started working on providing technical assistance, training, education, to provide strategies and tools to schools to address it through a multidisciplinary approach. My two sessions are, one is focusing on students with disabilities. Very high percentage of students with disabilities who are targeted for harassment. And I'm going to be very specific, and we're going to talk about the distinction between bullying and harassment, which is a critical distinction for people to understand from a civil rights perspective, both legally and practically. If we're trying to change behavior, we have to understand what motivates students to engage in the targeting of specific students.
Hi, I'm Joanne Freiberg. I'm from Connecticut. I work at the State Department of Education, and I'm in schools probably 3-4 times a week, working on the ground with teachers, administrators, to change the school climate and reframe this mammoth matter when we deal with bullying. And I have learned that it is probably one of the most toxic concepts that live and breathe in schools every day, and if we ever expect to get ahead of the curve, we have to think about the language we're using. 44 states, 44 different definitions, and we're not getting any better. So the concept or the workshop that I'm going to do tomorrow is about that very issue, because I find that when we can get the flywheel moving and reframe away from bullying, treat it as a 4-letter word, and move toward improving school climate and know what that looks like, feels like, and sounds like, then we have a shot at making some progress. So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow afternoon.
My name is Meredith. I'm coming from Florida. I'm co-director of the Cyberbullying Research Center, and I'll be speaking today and tomorrow. My first session is entitled Cyberbullying Identification, Prevention, and Response. If you want to come either one of those days, feel free. And just know that when I talk about the issue of cyberbullying, it's very user-friendly, it's very relatable, it's very accessible, it's not involving technological jargon, and it really gets at the baseline as to what's going on out there amongst both boys and girls when it relates to cyberbullying. Also how different sorts of aspects of their lives are affected, whether it's their academic performance, whether it's their behaviors, whether it's their emotions. And then also what's most important for all of you here is just to try to get at what can you do? What can you put in your pocket and go back to your schools, your youth organizations, and implement when it relates to prevention and response.
I'm Donna San Antonio. I saw an old family friend a little while ago, and it reminded me that our personal biographies are very important. I started as a community organizer in anti-poverty programs, then became a teacher for 10 years, then started a program called the Appalachian Mountain Teen Project. It's a Lakes Region, New Hampshire program based in Wolfboro, and also taught at the Harvard Graduate School of Education in Risk and Prevention from 2002 to 2009. The topic of my workshop, which will be today in the second workshop and tomorrow in the morning, is to really look at classroom conversations and how those micro conversations can be guided. I'm interested in what's going on in the conversations, how to support them, but also interested in the context of those conversations. The family context, the school context, the community context of those conversations.
I'm doing 3 sessions with other folks that I want to make sure you know about. The first one is called Define It, Assess It, Improve It. And so we're really going to go back to what Joanne was talking about in terms of framing this, in terms of trying to define what we're trying to work on. We're going to be doing using some art strategies to do that. We're going to use some creativity and a qualitative research technique that we use with elementary school kids to study school climate. But instead of doing that, we're actually going to study teacher culture this time, so it'll be a little more relevant for you guys. We're going to also be joined by Jack and Janie Barnes when it comes to Improve It from Tennessee, where we've been working for the last 7 years, and they're going to talk about what they've seen happen in terms of a 7-year process of improving school climate, safety, reducing racism, and improving academic performance along the way. Rick Gordon and I are going to hook up for the second session, Connecting School Climate and Student Learning. Rick is also going to really talk about a lot of the engaged learning strategies that they use at Compass School. And the Compass School is the school that has scored the highest on our school climate inventory of all the schools we've been in the country. And so the kinds of things they do really work. So we want to share those with you.
Okay, the other workshop I'm doing this morning here is about how to engage learners, and what we're going to do together is elicit from all of you great experiences you've had that have been engaging for you as a learner or for students. We're going to then expand your repertoire by sharing some other things we've done in schools or we've seen other schools do. And then if we're efficient workers, we're going to produce the guide to engage learning as a product at the end of this that we'll put on our website. It'll be there for teachers and schools to access on both the rationale, but more importantly, a zillion practical strategies schools can use to engage learners more in the learning process. So talk very briefly about leadership in terms of at the school level, at the district level, and I think that can be a transition to the governor in talking about leadership at the state level and what Governor Lynch and I think other people in the State House have brought to this. So just briefly, someone talk about school leadership, what you've seen that really makes a difference.
I think one of the cores of leadership is that a leader lets staff know what they're doing right and what flows from that, so that people are more effective.
Really appreciate all that you do. I think working to help children in the field of education is one of the most noble things anybody could do. And I really appreciate what you all do in your jobs in your respective states. Part of what we want to do is to ensure that our children in school are safe. And if they're not safe, they're not going to get the opportunity that they need in order to learn properly. And as governor, I've made safety of our children a real priority here in New Hampshire. We continue to work to ensure that we're protecting, as you all would agree, our most valuable resource, our kids.
You folks are the experts on school climate in your building. And we need you to go back and use what you know to make a difference for kids. That's the purpose.
Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be.